Hi, my name is Dery, and I am the UI UX design intern at the City of Charlotte this summer. For this project, I worked on Reimagining a 311 app through a UX lens. I worked on it with Rachel Stark, Bill Majersic, and Sean Gavin. So a little bit about the project is, this is a mobile application by the City of Charlotte. It's meant to provide city requests for residents, requests that are related to a 311 hotline, but not limited to just that. Users are able to view city resources and other events through the app and be able to save events through the app. They can also set reminders for trash, bulky pickups, and other city requests using the application, which is currently in place. So for this particular project, I was tasked with redesigning a simplified version of the app and trying to make it a little bit more consistent, flexible, and also improving the overall user friendliness of the application and app engagement within the app. Also the task of finding out new features and user feedback of features that could be incorporated in the app, and also making the app more flexible to incorporate features in the future. So these are some of the processes that I went through. First of all, I did a current app review. I looked at the current app of what was happening, how the app looked like, and what were some of the things that could be improved within the app. I also went online to do some reviews and check on user feedback. I also received about 200 plus user app feedback and went through all of those and analyzed some of the feedback that they got to get a better idea of what users want or do not want, or what are ways we could improve the app. I also created personas, user flows, and low and high fidelity wireframes within for this project. And I'll talk a little bit more about that as we go on. So these are some of the findings that I found. In terms of who uses the app, I realized that a younger generation uses the app a little bit more. A younger generation tend to use the app a little bit more frequently than the older generations. The older generation tend to use another website. So that sort of influenced my design choices in sort of the ways that I would design the app for a younger generation. I also realized that there were a lot of city departments and resources that were interconnected within the app. So that also influenced the way I had to think about how the user would navigate within the app, and how these resources can be connected into the app for easy user navigation and user experience. These are some of the desired features that users wanted. They wanted an easier and quicker way of making requests. They'll be able to view their updates from the requests that they made. They could edit these requests, and they could also cancel the request. They can also stay up to date with events, resources, and all the requests that they made. They can get access to various city resources through the app, and also learn more about the resources that the city has to offer for them without having any misconceptions. They also desired new features and an overall improved UI UX. So in order to enhance the UX of the application, I created a persona based on the findings, which will serve as an idea to how an actual user would use the application, on how they'll interact, or what are the sort of impacts that would make on the user. So this is Dina. She is a 19-year-old college student who is living off campus. And in terms of using the app, she would greatly benefit from this app because she can use it to set reminders or keep track of her trash and bulky pickups. As someone who is living off campus, she can report street light issues or anything happening on the streets. If she's walking to campus or walking anywhere, she can also stay in touch of city events and be able to reach out to people to volunteer for some of those events using just this application. So in order to make this experience for Dina, I had to go through all these processes. So in order to get an overall flow of the application or the design of the app, I created a user flow of how the users would interact with the app. The red section is one of the new features that were incorporated, which is adding making sure the user is able to create an account, to be able to save their data or their details, and makes it easier for them to make requests in the future, and also keep track of certain things that happen in the app. So the user is able to create an account and also go through onboarding to learn more about what the app is about. The blue section is more about how the user is going to make requests and how they'll interact with the different forms of requests in the app. And the orange section has to do with features such as keeping track of the previous requests that they made, viewing jobs, also looking at the calendar to see other events that were happening. So these are some of the solutions that I came up with. This is a low fidelity wireframe. This was a way to help me understand some of the layouts that could possibly improve the overall UX of the application. So I use this as a guide to get an idea of how to improve the user experience based on the research that I found, and also based on some of the feedback that I got from stakeholders. So these are some of the screens for the high fidelity designs that I created. This is actually based on the city guidelines, and this is going to serve as a guide for future implementation for the developers. So I'm just going to talk a little bit more about each screen. So the first screen has, which is the home screen, has all the requests that are available. As mentioned before, some of the users have some misconceptions of what the app could do. So I grouped all the city resources into one area for them to easily see it. And then they can tap on it to view the other resources that are available. This way they're able to learn more about what resources that the city has to offer for them in a faster and quicker way. And then they can also search, and also gives them a disclaimer. And this is the calendar page. This is where they're able to keep track of their trash, be able to view events, be able to keep track of all their reminders and everything within the app. They can also personalize their experience by clicking on the categories, and it gives them a pop-up of anything that they are interested in finding out more about the city in terms of events that are happening, in terms of resources that they want to see. And this is the screen that shows an example of a request page that they can make different requests. This example is a street sign, as mentioned with Dina. In case she wants to report anything happening on the street, she can use this page to make that request and also keep track of it. She can upload videos and pictures into this and also submit the request. And finally, this is the your request screen, which users are able to keep track of things that are in progress and things that are completed. They can also click on the drop-down menu to get an update of an update on their request, and they can also get a notification on their phone about any updates or based on their request. They can also click on the edit that takes them to another screen with their information, and then they can cancel their request and they can make updates to their request, and which is updated in the system. And this is finally the last screen, which has access to more resources and the saved data. So for future plans, this is currently still in the design stage and would most likely undergo some form of user testing to get back results, and those results would be those changes would be made to the designs based on the results, and then finally there will be implementation of this design. And then the impact of this project is that it's going to improve the overall user experience for users who are using this application. It's most likely going to increase in-app engagement and resource awareness to the residents of Charlotte. And this also serves as a way to give fresh set of eyes to applications that are the city of Charlotte, especially with this project that has been handled over the years by developers. It's good to have someone who has a user experience look at it with a fresh set of eyes and improve the overall user experience for the app and for users. And then the key takeaways from this project is that working on several initiatives helped me understand like the benefits of technologies within the city of Charlotte and how they are all interconnected and how they can help the residents of Charlotte. And also to keep in mind that when designing, there are so many things that comes into mind, especially with user requests, time constraints, and all other like resources that are available or not available that you have to keep in mind. And finally, I would like to acknowledge the City of Charlotte for being very supportive with me throughout the entire process, and Peggy Chow and Coding It Forward for this amazing experience. Thank you. Any questions? Okay. I would answer Drew's question. In terms of accessibility, I am still working on it, and there hasn't been a lot of accessibility considerations in this, if I'm being honest, and hopefully with more time, all these will be taken into consideration. Yes, that's my response for that. And also honestly, I had a meeting with someone who is a webmaster who was willing to give me more experience on accessibility design in terms of that. So hopefully those changes or those changes could be made to the project in the future.
I have a question. How are you sort of packaging up your project to hand it off to your team? Because I'm asking because we're wondering the same thing for our project now too. So I was wondering if you thought it through at all.
Yes. So on Figma, you can create several pages within a file. So I'm planning on creating several pages within that particular file, and then I have a page with all the user feedback and how I've analyzed them, and then a page with the wireframes, a page with the user flow, and a page with like the final designs and finally the prototype. And then I would send the link. And hopefully I can also export most of these files into PDFs and images that could be put into another folder. So those are the two options right now. Unless, are you using Figma? Okay.
Yeah, I saw your Figma post-its and I was like, woo, go Figma.
Are there any more questions?
This is Drew again. I'm sorry, I was a fellow last year. One other question from my side, I was curious to hear a bit more about your process of like developing the user profile. Like, you might have mentioned it, but could you talk a bit more about, did you like interview like current users or individuals who like aren't current users, but like you wish would use the app, or how did that go?
Okay, so for this particular project, I worked on it within a very short period of time. This was one of the projects that I worked on. So what I did was just mostly go online for user feedback and what people were saying about the app and how they were engaging with the app. And then finally, I received user feedback, in-app feedback. The current app allows users to put in information or like any feedback that they have. And I went through all those. There were about 200 plus feedback. So I had to read through what users were seeing and some of the things that they could possibly want enhanced in the app. I haven't done any form of user testing for this particular project yet. Yeah. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. Thank you.
Thank you.